Shave, how do we feel about HKT?
I feel great. Like, I thought that was a big recruiting win. I feel even better because I predicted it in February on a podcast. And there's audio that I can play forever. Now, they have to get Aiden Manitai for me to really be able to hammer that one home. It's 2 for 2. But it's a huge recruiting pickup for a few different reasons. One, I think he's underrated, and 24/7 Sports is actually probably going to bump him. I know that 2 of our evaluators that have seen him in person have gone to bat that he needs to move up. So he's quite possibly going to be a 4-star by the time this is all said and done. Secondly, I love the fact that they've gone into Hawaii these last 2 years and they've pulled one of the top linemen. They already have offers out to the number 1 and number 2 for 2026. I think they can build a little bit of a pipeline there because if you have Donovan Raiola and his connections, certainly Dylan Raiola playing, and then, of course, obviously Dominic is on the wall at the stadium. You have that history, but you start to get these guys in the program. If they begin to play, it becomes a lot easier for you to go back to Hawaii time and time again. And I like that he's an interior offensive lineman. Like, I think that they know what he is right away. I think that benefits everybody because Donovan Raiola is going to be better with interior offensive line. Like, I think that's his area of expertise. And because he played it, he knows it. I just thought this was a big recruiting win. And I don't know that people realized Arizona State made this one really tough. Like, it kind of felt like it was going to be Nebraska, the whole way. And then I started hearing whispers that Arizona State had really kind of moved in on this, and they have their own Hawaiian offensive line coach, and they picked up a Hawaiian offensive line commit earlier in class as well. But to get Houston Kaahaaina-Torres, I mean, it's a big recruiting win. I felt for Nebraska and for Donovan Raiola. And, if you look at their last couple offensive line classes,
pretty good.
They've stacked some pretty good bodies in there. I mean, as much as I complained in November of 22 and December of 22 when the decision was made to bring him back because I thought his recruiting had gone absolutely terrible in that one cycle under Frost. And I wasn't, the offensive line was bad. He has really, out of all the assistants, has really sort of come on and impressed me the most with everything. I mean, there's been a lot of growth there, I think, for him. And it just kind of goes to show it's really hard to judge a guy off of 1 year, and especially when that 1 year is 2022.
Yeah, well, we go on and on about how, like, fish out of water that experience was for Raiola, really, with, an offensive coordinator that didn't really want him or know how to be any sort of coherent offense with him, a head coach that was on his way out. I mean, that whole thing, I don't really know how you judge anybody in that situation. But
right.
I agree with you. Like, he wasn't my favorite guy. That wasn't the guy I thought they'd bring back for
I think his greatest claim to fame is he never killed Frost during a practice.
You said he never what?
That he never killed Frost during a practice. I think there's something to be said for that too.
Incredible restraint.
Was there a line of people,
I'm just saying.
I know you're just saying. I know what I've heard too.
Yeah, they had some doozies.
Yeah. Also wasn't the first offensive line coach to feel that way.
Very smart there, Mike J.
So outside of the offensive line recruiting, which I think we feel okay about now, we got Tapu, got Kaahaaina-Torres, and so we feel okay now. We good?
We still, I think, we got a couple more fish on the hook, right, Mike J?
Well, they've got those Bishop Gorman guys, but I just don't know that they're leading for either one of them. I wonder if we're going to get to the point where they're going to be going into kind of the senior film, looking for the Xander Ruggiero-Rolis types that, they were able to pull last year, who I think we talked on this show a couple of weeks ago. That's a guy I'm really excited about. I'm not as worried about what they have going on with the offensive line, in part because I think they have a couple tight ends in the program that might end up as offensive linemen too. They took 6 or 7 guys last year. I just should we not talk about that? Like, I don't.
There's some people whose
it just gets very touchy. I know what some analysts say about guys moving from tight end to tackle, but.
I'm not even talking tackle. I mean, part of it right now is it feels like they need to go get another offensive tackle. I think that's the area where you look at this offensive line and what they brought in. It feels like they have a lot of really intriguing interior offensive line prospects. But it would be good if they could get, a another big tackle. Like if they could have added someone like Caden Massey to Grant Bricks last year, I think you'd feel even better about where they are tackle wise. But I think that's sort of the one last remaining thing with the offensive line. Otherwise, I feel good about what they've done on the offensive line. And then certainly, they have defensive athletes for days. You just pull up that commitment list and you got all these guys listed as athletes that could play multiple different positions. It's a really unique class. If you sit and you look at the class, it's not how you would have thought it would have been drawn up, but there's a lot going on there.
Well, you get another potentially defensive athlete yesterday in Jeremiah Jones as well, although he can also play receiver, it appears. Where do you have an inkling on where you think he might end up being best at?
I tend to feel like he starts on the defensive side of the ball and maybe in that sort of rover linebacker type of thing. That's kind of where it seems like his value might be. You're talking about a guy, and I don't know that he's a full 6'4", but let's say he's 6'4", 200 pounds. Let's say he's just listed height. I mean, that's a really intriguing safety linebacker rover. Or why couldn't he be the next Javen Wright? I mean, there's a lot of similarity in their game for me too. So that's what I wrote about yesterday. And I think that's kind of the path for a Jeremiah Jones. And Javen Wright's a guy we probably don't talk enough about that, could have his own breakout coming here in 2024.
Arguably your single greatest episode ever that didn't include a rant, because I am 1,000% holding your hand on just about everything you said so far. It started with the breakfast sausage, so you softened me up. But I can't, like, the Javen Wright thing is so, that's what I see. And I think even furthermore, I said yesterday, if Javen Wright is good and he's playing next to Bullock as those two inside guys, and they can run and play at angles like that and fit in the run game, this defense really has a chance to be pretty good. Like you're 100. We don't talk about him near enough. If he's good, they got a chance to be great.
I think one of the things that excites me about this defense is once you get past the defensive line, which, I'll gush about for days and I don't have to right here. If you look at all the collection of players that they have in the back half of the defense, starting with the linebackers, moving back to the defensive backfield, they have a lot of mix and match type players where I think you can get good performances week in and week out. You might not have like a designated, this guy's going to get, all the reps or whatever, all the snaps. But in certain situations, you have like some really strong situational role players throughout this defense. Like, I think that's really good, because if you have that foundation built and you have your core, but then, your second guys at the position are able to come in, there's no drop off, or you can utilize them when a team wants to spread you out, or if they want to pack it in and go right at you, but you have the pieces to be able to do that. I think they are deep in a really fun way on the defensive side of the ball. And it's not necessarily full of star power, but it's full of really fundamentally sound football players, which is why I think their defense could be pretty good again this year. I mean, the one hesitation I have is, what it looks like in the secondary, because I think you lose some really heady, veteran pieces there, but the rest of it, I feel pretty good about what that defense can do.
Yeah. If Jamal Charles keeps coming along, I don't know if I would be like, ooh, exhale, but I think he's got
Jeremiah Charles, right?
Did I say Jamal?
Yeah.
Not the little Texas KC guy. Jeremiah.
Yeah, well,
chance to be good.
Nebraska fans just shudder to think of what he did in 2007.
Yeah, we are unfamiliar with him. We don't need to talk about that. Schaefer, we appreciate the time as always. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys, have a good 4th of July. Count your fingers before the day starts and leave with the same amount when the day ends. That's the goal.
10.
No JPPs around here.